publicly to Pogačar, which makes it even more of a joy for us to anticipate.
Aurélien de Comeron is next, riding for Mauritius. Do you know what? I want them to come to my next birthday party. I like this vibe.
You're going to have to see about arranging it. It would be spectacular, wouldn't it?
I could put a hip out, to be honest, quite easily. We thought about going to a samba bar last night. We thought again because we were just we were dedicated to you.
Well, I was going to say we decided to talk about development of skin suits and things like that instead. But it did sound good. Next time.
Next time. Gervais still catching. In fact, I think this is his second, I was going to say minute man, but it's 2.5 minute men, isn't it, in front of him. So Gervais is eating into the crowd. In fact, he's caught 3 riders out there. That was Ricardo Sogede. He's just moved by from Benin. So he looks like he is having a very effective run as we dwell on, of course, the Volcanoes National Park once again. These volcanoes, you know, there's 2 ways to form mountains. One is by tectonic motion, and the other is, of course, by volcanic activity. One gets thrown up from the deep, and the other is the movement of the Earth's crust. I mean, I'm telling you, you're getting it all here. That's
at least my second geography lesson of the day.
Oh, well, there'll be more.
One was teaching me how time zones work.
We are playing here in Kigali, this wonderful capital of the great country of Rwanda. And we are loving the cycling so far. It's about to get very, very, very intense. And I think our benchmark, our next one, in fact, I think he's just coming up to our next split in a few moments' time. We, of course, are busy ourselves, not only in keeping it. Oh, hello, it's Cox gone red against him. So still, Nesingiyumwa has the advantage now. It's 13 seconds down. It looks like it's going to be magnified far more than that. So what's Gervais got for the latter part of the course? And I don't think he's got the measure of Nesingiyumva, who has done an absolute dream start. We had no reference to it until this moment. But the very fact that Gervais has been found out by this kind of margin, all it does is underscore what the Rwandan did a little bit, Rwandan champion, I should say, Shemu did a little bit earlier on, because this is 3 times the advantage.
Yeah, it was a really, really stunning early ride, really solid performance. So after the first intermediate time check, Florian Vermeersch came in 45 seconds up on Nesimiumga and Gervais at 56. But he looks to be coming. Let's have a confirmation of what happens at this second intermediate time check.
He's just been through it, 39, near enough. 38.82, there it is.
There we go, confirmation of that.
So Liu at 2 minutes and 44. So still Rwanda will be indeed continue the dancing band theme, because they've got a lot to celebrate with a fantastic performance by their national champion, and Nsengiyumva, who has done an amazing job and is still out of reach. I'll be getting in touch with Anthony McCrossan a little bit later on, because the Kimu Ronku market have got a special hat sale tonight. And I'm just hoping that it can bring me back something rather special. Let's wait and see. Baskets, shoes, kitchenware, and artisan-made crafts, and homemade herbal remedies. That sounds like a winter warmer. Meanwhile, Gervais sails by another. This is Dalani of the Comoros Islands. Very sort of old school looking coloured kit there. I actually really quite like that. In the old racing days, the solid, you know, the national colours were reflected, and they had to have a meeting, and I believe it was in France, to decide on the national racing colours of all nations. And apparently we missed the boat, the Brits did, and got to the meeting late, and all that was left was green, which is British racing green. There we are. So, there we are. Don't know why. Let's go for a little heli shot over the magnificent tea plantations once again. Still haven't had a cup of tea. Anyway, It's time for Mr. Munton. Byron, in fact. Well, somebody, of course, well known for a Grand Tour. Let's see how he gets on. I was talking Byron there, but anyway, that was a long time ago. This is Byron Munton for the Republic of South Africa. In fact, for many years, of course, African success generally tended to focus on South Africa, but the focus has kind of moved to include many other nations of the great continent, hasn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just keeping an eagle eye here. I'm distracting myself on the performance of Vermeersch. And we've talked a lot about our expectations in different tech setups, and just look at the contrast here as we're starting to see him go through these timing points. And 45 seconds he was up on Nsengimba at the first time check. And we'll see what plays out in the rest of his ride for Belgium. But I've also been trying to really have a look at the gear selection of some of these riders, because I think what will happen as we get further on today will be that differences can be made on these descents. And so I think, again, it's been quite a difficult measure to get of the preparation of the bike, given the elevation gain, but given how much they'll want to unleash as much power as possible on other parts of this course, including those wide descents. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get a bike close-up of Florian Vermeersch in a moment.
This looks like a dried up mangrove lake, I believe, in the Agera National Park, because just the very nature of it, it looks like indeed this was a dry lake. Maybe it has been warmer than in other parts of the year. We're in one of the two dry seasons. There are two dry seasons, two wet seasons. So we are in a dry season. Although I've got to say, with the billowing clouds here and a look of glissé upon the road, I actually wonder if we haven't had a little bit of light rain through the course by the looks of things.
Yeah, it does look that way, doesn't it now? And we've been speculating as to these conditions, as to whether or not things like air condition, air quality, and the altitude we're at, and the humidity level, like all these things have been discussion points, haven't they, coming in? I'm just seeing the pure image of joy and enthusiasm there, which has not waned all day from our crowds here.
Still waiting for Canada to finish, but they have another rider off and underway as Laurent Gervais is out on course. This is Michael Leonard who starts now. Took a big step with his 10th place in the Basque Country, but not performed at the same level since. But as you can see with his feisty start here, he means business. He's on full attack mode, gets himself on the skis right now. He can climb well as a time trialist, so he's got that skill set to his name. Possibly handicapped by the route. Let's wait and see. I think that he will be okay, and he certainly started busy.
Yeah, and it's really good, isn't it, to see riders just explode out of the start arena, down that ramp out, and you can just see how people are settling into their ride. And it's so nerve-wracking to get the pacing right today. Yep. I'm having to hold back because I keep going to talk about the result of the women's race, but I am going to hold back on that. But it is interesting to hear insights from riders that have taken to the course earlier today and saying that even themselves haven't known whether they've got the pacing right during the ride, because the plans have somewhat gone out the window on the course today. And you were saying we might have well seen the skies open up a little bit. And some of the riders were saying when a lot of the Europeans arrived to Rwanda in preparation for today and the start of this World Championships, that they weren't sure what to expect from the conditions, from the humidity, from this part of the world. So it's been interesting to see how riders have fared, and not all of us have been able to predict how some riders are going to fare, even if they are favourites on paper. And here's Florian Vermeersch for Belgium. 17.2 kilometres remaining for him.
Target time was a 34.26. I think he's going to breach that, so he should be in the lead, but it's a question of just by how much. And unfortunately, we just cut away from him at a rather important moment because, with the Belgians getting an extra pass because they have the defending champion Remco Evenepoel, Florian Vermeersch is kind of here as a guest. And so he's taken his opportunity to go for it. This is Ryan Taramay. Now, somebody who on his day can actually produce very, very good time trials. The Estonian is often in the service of others, so he doesn't, even if there's a, excuse me, a time trial in a stage race, he will often not be allowed to fully go for it because he's got to be a support rider within his trade team. So he wouldn't be expected to turn himself inside out for a time trial and give himself a chance of winning it. Today, he's got a great chance of going strongly. So Ryan Taramay will go well. We're still waiting, though, to see what Florian Vermeersch does through this split. And here it is. Now, don't forget, 34.26 is his time. He's easily going to be ahead of that. And so this will be our new benchmark. Now, he was trailing, don't forget, by, sorry, he had an advantage, I beg your pardon, at the first split of 45 seconds. Let's see what his advantage is this time. Has he held on to it? We'll get 3 checks along the way, and of course, our finale at the end. We'll see if it's tying up just a little bit or whether he's managed to extend it. The clock will stop, of course, when he just bridges this corner. You'll see that. Still very much green. It'll stay green against him, and he has found another 6 seconds. So this is going to come down to how he can cope with the final climb over the cobbles, which we'll be seeing a little bit later on. But for now, he's in the bird seat.
He certainly is, and we were expecting this, weren't we? When we looked down our start list, who was perhaps a little bit more of an earlier starter today, and we expected big things at this point from Irsh, and he's delivering that, and it's really interesting. But yeah, you can see that the Sengiumba put in a really solid benchmark for everybody to follow today. But this is, yeah, a solid ride from the Belgian with 16.2 kilometers remaining. Just getting more aerial shots here of our area here in Rwanda. But yes, back to your point on riders' priorities and how different that will look coming into a World Championships. And I think that that's another really interesting element to this, is we can compare how a rider has approached a time trial, of course, in the likes of a Grand Tour. But as you've well pointed out, that is probably not a priority for a lot of this field if they are working in support of teammates. So when they come in with a solo objective from themselves, that's when we really get to see some riders shine.
Darren Rafferty off the ramp. Again, somebody else that's often in the service of others. And so this will be an opportunity for him to have a straight run at this. When it comes to time trials, you wouldn't possibly say that Darren Rafferty would be at top of your list. But I think he can wrestle a route, and this is one of those which is set for a proper battle. We're coming to Leonard. He's only about 5.5 minutes into his run, so he's a long way from the first checkpoint. However, just dwelling very briefly on the second and third checkpoints are really quite close together. When you're at full flight, they're probably only about 6 minutes apart, 6 or 7 minutes apart. So we're going to get the next Vermeersch checkpoint in just a moment's time. And my feeling is, well, let's see. If he found another, what was it, 7 seconds from his first checkpoint, he added to the margin that he had. In fact, let me just double check that. 6 seconds. I know there's some pedants of you out there, and you want these things absolutely bang on. So he was leading by 45.2 at the first checkpoint, leading by 51.7 at the second checkpoint. But the third checkpoint comes to us a bit like ground rush. So he's going to be through that very, very soon. It's a power part of the course, as you can see. He's holding a great line here, just inside that those yellow markers, and he's nearly there. So if the margin is bigger than 51 seconds advantage, so 51 seconds in green, he's holding it, and we'll see how he delivers it a little bit later on. Meanwhile, it's delivery time for our friend from
it's today, isn't it? It's just how much power these riders can get out. And I think Luke Platt was saying in his pre-race interview, wasn't he, that actually it's not respite on this course, is it? It's any respite is where you got to make the difference, where you've got to keep challenging your rivals, and where you've got to ultimately keep that power down, which is where it comes into the consideration of, the gear ratios that these riders are looking at to get scaling up those ascents over the cobbles without difficulty, but also maximizing these really fast, wide, powerful sections like Vermeersch's.
Well, his target time at this third checkpoint is a 41.50, and you will, excuse me, see the little inflatables in a few moments' time. He's reaching out for them. There's an amazing aqua park here, but I think it's mountain filled for some of the runoff that we get from the high ground which surrounds us here. Garcia Piana, a very good track cyclist, I have to say. And coming with track cycling is often a level, especially if you're a 6-day racer, a level of discomfort and bike handling, which I think is magnified in terms of what they offer. So yeah, I expect Garcia Piana to actually have a pretty good run. We'll have more on him in a moment. Check this out. Clock still rolling. Green. There's the Tissot timing point, and minute and a half.
Wow.
Goodness me, he has found 39 more seconds in the very short jump between checkpoints 2 and 3. There's not much gap between those checkpoints. He's absolutely eating the course, and he'll be our new leader for sure.
Yeah, Florian Vermeersch will become our leader of this race for Belgium. We haven't had a huge amount of opportunity to see Nsegi Imba in that hot seat, have we? But it's always so interesting to watch a rider. Happily, we were so delighted to see him take into that spot for Rwanda, going off as the first rider on our start ramp. But yeah, I mean, riders know generally, don't they, when their time is going to be up in that seat, especially when you've got someone like Vermeersch out on the course. So yeah, I like to sometimes see the moments that a rider is just waiting with bated breath to see how long they're going to sit in a chair. But yeah, it's been brilliant that the Rwandan cyclist has been given the opportunity to take that on early today.
You want to see an ideal cyclist torso? Look no further here than Michael Leonard. It's that sort of conical shape, allowing you to have enormous lung capacity with a very tight waist. Sort of the upside down of my torso, really. But anyway, yeah.
Stop it.
That is the idea. Meanwhile, back downstairs.
Meanwhile,
yes, Mr. Vermeersch. He's got the most difficult part of the course still to deal with, and nothing is certain in this game. And thankfully, so far today, we haven't seen any technicals, have we?
No, I can't believe you've gone there and said it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we'll just apologise now for the curse that we're giving for all the subsequent riders on this course. But yeah, I mean, that is a big consideration. You need everything to go your way. You probably want to look at refining tyre pressures over those cobbles, because it comes quite late in the day.
Sobrero takes off the ramp here, and Matthew Sobrero is kind of the other Italian, isn't it? We always talk about Pippo Ganna, and but I mean, fancy living in his shadow. I mean, he's a big lad, he casts a big shadow, but in more ways than one, not just physically, but metaphorically as well. Matthew Sobrero, it's his chance to come out from underneath that shadow here today. What can he do?
Yeah, it's a really good point, isn't it? Because, yeah, for anyone just joining us, we've noted some of the big names that we would always expect to look for, like Filippo Ganna in a time trial. But there have been many riders today given that opportunity, including him, to shine. And yeah, I'm here for it. I think it's going to be really exciting. And we've got a very interesting field out here today. And as we see each and every one of those go off, we're going to see these time gaps just be tighter and tighter. And the absolute fireworks that I can vaguely say that we were offered in the women's race. But yeah, I think, again, we talk a lot about psychology playing a part. And if you have felt that you are not the nation's priority, that you're not team number one, I mean, that's got to have an effect. So to be told, right, you've got the backing, you've got your opportunity to target this, go for it, I mean, that's got to make a difference, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And Sobrero's got a great chance as well. In the Vuelta, he crashed in the team race, the team time trial. And that was a missing piston, basically, for his team. And so he has to pick himself up and just get on with the belief of doing something special. I think Sobrero will go really strongly today. I think he's one of those outside picks because he's got the chance to shine. And I think he will.
And you can't underestimate that. And it's such a gamer sport, isn't it? In every element of it. And you can have the out-and-out favourite that doesn't have it all their way on the day. And that does happen. And it happens, it happens a lot in our sport. And that's why you can never say, right, this is how we're going to see the conclusion of a race play out before we've seen it. That's why we love our sport. But I do think psychology is being considered more and more. And riders are placing importance on that. And you've got to have the belief. You've got to ultimately have the belief, especially on a time trial, because the headspace that you go to, which is why I was never good at a time trial, is because, especially on a course of this distance, you can go to many different places in your head, and to keep that ultimate belief in your timing, in your pacing of it, it's not easy.
This course is not easy either. Liu goes second, but gives away well over 1:50, as you've seen at the line. That tells you just how big the gaps are, and what a great job that Nissan Yuma has indeed produced. Here's Luke Platt. He's off and underway. He's only just departed, and this will again be somebody who, provided he keeps it upright, could have a very fine run today. He's had a pretty wild season, to be honest. Half a Giro and a whole tour is what you might say. What's he going to snack on today? Let's find out, shall we? That is how we stack up you with 3 minutes and 28. I misread an intermediate time. The difference between first and second, what this is doing is telling you what our Rwandan champion Shemu did. That was brilliant.
Yeah, the singing Vert put in a really solid early ride. First rider off, of course, for Rwanda, took to that hot seat. But yeah, we don't always know what to expect early on, do we, when we're seeing the start order of the day? But a really solid ride from the Rwandan rider.
Here is Gervais, and it's just going to go against him. There it is at the line. I had quite high hopes for Gervais. In fact, he lost a lot of time between the first and the second checkpoints. Looks like he's regathered some of that time, but this is the Heartbreak Hill that we talk about. You go into a series of little, what look like ramps, and you think the finish line must be just over this one, and no. You've got another hill to climb, and here he comes, just into our consciousness right now. And he's going to end up, 40 plus seconds down, I'm afraid, by the time he crosses the line. But strong effort. That should be good enough for second place at the moment. And it is, as the countdown continues. Seychelles, we spoke to him earlier, said he was a bit surprised by the conditions here. Weather conditions we're talking, the humidity, and indeed almost the heaviness, possibly of expectation. I expect him to go very well. Back to Luke Platt. Well, the last time we saw him, he was actually pretty fresh, 7th in San Sebastian. But the thought is that he has been keeping everything for today. Australian time trial champion, and with the likes of Turbo hanging around. He was, in fact, I think, smashed him in 21, didn't he? And then was a champion in 24, and indeed this year as well, which is why he wears the old green and gold. And I like Luke Platt.
The old green and gold.
Yeah, that's what they call it, mate.
Oh, like so many of the Aussies. He's got such a brilliant personality, isn't he, that it brings us. And I was just looking back at his interview that he offered us earlier today. He says he's absolutely stoked to be here, which I love as a quote. And his summary of the course was the downhills are rapid. And we've talked about that element of not thinking, well, this descent's a respite. Of course, for riders like Platt, they are going to be capitalising on absolutely everything they can there. And it'll be interesting to see if we get eyes on that point of the course, what he can carry through that that dead turn as well, because I think that's where we're going to start seeing riders when it gets down to the level of Luke Plapp, of Tadej Pogačar, of Remco Evenepoel. That's where the pressure is going to be put on, and you've got to get that balance right. You can't push it to the point where you risk coming off on a turn, but equally if your rivals are giving it everything through that, you've got to do that as well. But I think that's where riders come into a TT with such a clear idea of how they're going to ride it and sticking to that as much as humanly possible.
Onto the cobbles, and in fact it's about the 2 kilometer mark where you get the steepest gradients here. It says that's extended over 1.3. Forget that. It's actually longer. It's actually a margin bigger than that. You hit the 11% very, very soon. And you can see the way the buildings here are indented. You can also see from his pace, quite frankly, this will be knocked back for him probably to about 16 to 20 kilometers per hour, which is slow for him. Meanwhile, Mauro Schmidt gets off and underway out of the start house. This could actually prove to be maybe a little bit of a surprise. And you see what I was talking about. It's about 2Ks out, isn't it? The steepest part of it, not 1,300 meters. So it's actually a lot more intense from a lot further out. 13 kilometers an hour. This is the hurt zone. Yeah. 2Ks out.
It really is. And I was talking earlier about how this section of cobbles comes in the latter point. Of course, you don't want to have a flat, you don't want to have a problem mechanical at any point in a T2 course. Of course you don't. But what I was alluding to is the fact that this is kind of a bit of a late surprise for the riders, isn't it? It looks like on paper, on the profile, that it's quite short, but it drags for so long for these riders. It's a long couple of kilometers to that line, and we often talk about riders making that decision when we've got more hilly terrain in these time trials. We talk about riders looking at whether they would use a traditional TT setup or a road bike setup, and of course riders will have gone for the TT today, but we're seeing riders out of position, perhaps more than we would have expected, on some of these, not only the gradients, but the road surface as well. And this is a really big fight towards the end of this time trial, which is why pacing has been so key, because riders going out on the arguably much more simple first part of the course, they all have in mind that this is what awaits them. This is what lies before that final for them, before they reach that finish line. And it might smooth out, but it doesn't necessarily flatten out either. So we're just seeing Vermeersch reach that real pinch point now.
I don't know who New Orwe is, but his fan club are in. And here we go. Mugisha is about to come off the ramp. And this is why they are screaming for him. Mweze, he is, of course, Rwandan. Well, at the moment, they've got one in the hot seat and one in the start house. They've bookended the day beautifully. For how much longer is anybody's guess. Listen to this.
It's absolutely incredible to witness this history in the making today.
Listen to this. That is brilliant. Do you know, just the joy of it is something to witness. 1,200 meters from the line is Vermeersch. Now, he was outstanding in the UAE Tour. I had the privilege of being there. Brilliant in Belgium as well. But then he goes and disappoints in Wallonie and in Great Britain as well, Tour of Britain. What can he do here? I think he's going to be in the hot seat, but for how long is anybody's guess, because he blows so hot and cold. I think the very fact that we've had a mixed course as well will suit him. So I think this is going to be a strong time, and maybe one that will stand the test of a lot of time that remains to us.
And this is one of those points, isn't it, where we can't fully appreciate from the sights on our TV screens just what these gradients are doing to these riders at this point in the race. And you could just see the fatigue going through Florian Vermeersch there for Belgium, couldn't you? And he's got 700 meters to go, but this is not a straightforward, easy 700 meters. He's driving everything back in this time trial position, back on the skis to just pull everything. But this gives us a better indication that camera shot we just got of just how much this is biting here.
Do you know what? I think you could swap the bike for a skateboard and he'd still come home with an advantage. That is an amazing margin that he has at this point on the course. And he is going to be our new leader. We'll see how long he manages to sit in the comfy velvet green chair. But right now, he's already into the hoarded section. He's collecting yet more riders along the way. I think he's actually hoovered up 5 on his run. And so the Belgian is, once the motorcycle takes the screen away from us, here he comes up over the crest. There's another crest still to be had. I think he is still going to have more than a minute and a half by the time he reaches the line. And look at all the faces looking at him and not at us. Look at that. That is proper fans of a proper sport.
That is just spectacular to witness the scenes here today in Kigali, Rwanda. Look at the effort of Amish to put in that time.
He trims 1:51 off the best time so far. He is our glorious leader as Andreas Leknesund gets off the start ramp. He's out of the house, not out of the arena just yet, and the drummer's still doing a fabulous job. The only Scandinavian representative this year, Leknesund. Yeah, let's see. Never really been a time trialist, but you know what? He is fantastic at mixed terrain, and this is precisely that. Don't be surprised if he gets a top 10. What about this,
man? That's what we're seeing today, isn't it? That's what we're seeing from this course, is that the unpredictability of it has meant that it's not easy to conclude what that top 10 is going to look like. And it gives so much more jeopardy to this race, which is ultimately why we love it. Look at this setup. You're talking about the colours of the Australian national kit here, but that is a spectacular paint job and setup there. But here we're seeing Florian Vermeersch. I mean, we knew that this might be the scenes after a time trial of that distance, but you could see just emptied everything out the tank as you would. But I think what's also difficult when you go at that point in the day is, yes, he's coming with a brilliant time gap there. He'll go into that hot seat. But of course, we've got so many of the big contenders to come. And mentally, it's very hard to know what's going to follow that ride.
Here comes the old cone torso, Mr. Leonard. He's going to bring this one in. Let's see how he is running through the course. Rebecca's lost it now. He was third at the first intermediate. Let's have a look. He's looking for, in fact, he's a way off it. I beg your pardon. He's got a way to go before he gets to his second intermediate. His target is a 33.34. And I think my friend Michael Shea Leonard is indeed going to do something a bit special here today. He looks like he is fully on it. So I'm putting a lot of eggs in the mixture here. Meanwhile, back to this bike.
You're meanwhile baking a cake.
I am. And what would you call this? Vanilla blueberry? Custard and mint? I don't know. It's.
Can we call it vanilla? I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, I do worry and wonder about some kits, but others I absolutely love. And here is the South Africa. This is a proper yippee flag, isn't it? South Africa, if you put it on its end. But yes, he's off and underway. That's Brandon Downs. Alexander Meyer is next. Then it'll be Will Barter, Miguel Heidemann, and Tiedemann Arnsman, where indeed very much we start to think about the juicy steaks that are still to come, including Isaac Del Toro, who is, I don't know, the best bit of sirloin you're likely to see today. Let's see how tasty his performance is. Meanwhile, Plapp still digging in. And here he goes. He's got a long way to go at the moment. Yeah, sometimes I just think designers, they've actually got a bit more sensible of late. And I think designers become a bit more human and a bit less graphical. You know, a lot of designs that they were too sharp, they were a bit too messy, and now we're going back to the classical stuff. And I absolutely love the classical stuff. Never been a big fan of faded gradient colors. And do you remember it just looked like a laundry accident to me. But thankfully, we're now back to good old solid block colours, and you can always rely on Canada to produce a good kit.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I'm just thinking now. You've set off my thought process with
Well, do you
like a
remember
colour fade.
Do you remember
I know what you mean.
Do you remember the Netherlands kit, which was just dots, and you couldn't see the famous orange had just gone, and basically it just looked like some kind of visual trick that they were playing on us.
I do wonder sometimes when you feel like a team has absolutely nailed the most beautiful kit and then they change it the season after, and that's disappointing. So no, I hear you, and it's important. It's important. But talking of which, it is really interesting to see at this level who's been given some freedom to perhaps do a little bit more aero testing in terms of the, of course, the equipment, but the skin suits that have been developed for certain riders, whether or not the whole, every rider in that federation is going to be wearing the same, or whether riders have placed more importance on that. And I think that's what's been a really interesting talking point, where people have been doing so much speculation on the battle between Pogačar and Evenepoel, because we know they've both had probably quite a handy amount of time to do their refinements in terms of preparations for today, because we know it's a huge target for both of them. Of course, a target for Luke Plapp, who we've got eyes on now with 30 kilometres remaining, just having eyes now as he has that first intermediate split.
Here we go. Surprisingly, red against him at the moment, but he will thrive better on some of the peaky stuff later on. He's 19 seconds down. That's only the first intermediate. If he's running what we've been referring to as a negative split, it means he's going to keep something back to deliver it later on. Yes, the 2023 Netherlands kit was basically, somebody thought, I know, let's get rid of the orange. And I don't know who that person was with that conversation, but it didn't work, and nobody could tell them. One of the greatest things in cycling for the Dutch is just being able to see the bright orange flying by, normally up ahead of you.
I was going to say, they're not bad, are they?
Here, check this out. Second intermediate. Florian Vermeersch's time is under threat. And it's our friend from South Africa, of course, the southern tip of this great continent, who's gone deep early at the second intermediate. He's in there. How's about that? 7 seconds, second quickest. He means business.
Look at this. Look at this. And that's what we are seeing play out on this course today, is you cannot conclude from that first time check how people are necessarily going to be completing and finishing off today. And I just love looking at the different styles on the bike and how people are able to just capitalize on staying neat, keeping the aero gains where possible. And it's not straightforward today, is it, in terms of keeping position? We've got so much to contend with in the latter parts of this course, and well,
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's
you know what,
it's fascinating.
You know, I'm anti-fussy. I don't like fussiness. I like things straight up. And I love the fact that here they have the cuddly toy, which is almost essential these days for any winner, is a gorilla. Of course it is. The mountain gorilla, which of course, Rwanda is renowned for. Don't mess around with that kind of stuff. Do you remember the London Olympics? They had something that looked a bit like a mobile phone.
I remember this.
Oh, check it out. And yeah. And what is it from Atlanta? Get a cheap one on eBay anytime you like. Barter gets off and underway. William Barter is here, and he is here to do some damage, and it's to the opposition. He's going to have to do a little bit to himself as well throughout this course, because it is tough, and Will Barter departs the field. Meanwhile, Leonard, check this out. Oh my goodness, the times are a-tumbling, and Vermeersch, if that was a good time, this is an enormous time. King Torso is bringing it home. I told you.
I was waiting for that, Carlton. But this
Super
is
Cohen.
Proving to be as thrilling.
Leonard Cohen. Go on. I'll sing the song in a minute.
Go on. I'll just give you that freedom. That's what you are progressing towards here.
Was it Suzanne Takes Me Down to this place by the river, or was it? I can't remember. Anyway, he's my man. Come on, Leonard. This is gonna be brilliant. I told you he was looking good. You wouldn't have it.
You did.
Mm.
We worry, don't we, about commentators' curse? But you've, this one's been a blessing.
He's got all the physical attributes of what is needed. He is spearing through the wind here. amazingly so. 10th place in the Basque Country. We always knew when I saw him racing there, I thought, hang on a minute, this is really good. And from the early runners, my Canuck friend here is going to deliver something rather special. A little bit of a waver on the front wheel. That's because he's taken in banking here, and he just makes a lovely transition to the other side of the road. He's already spying the apex that he's got to hit. He gives himself a quick look, then straight back down to the aero position to maintain it. Double check to make sure he's not getting out of line. This is fantastic riding at the moment. He knows he's on a downhill section, which has got a technical left-hander at the bottom, so he needs to shed a bit of speed. So he takes this beautiful right-hander, screams down the other left-hander, and then just has to deal with the rest of the course to bring me deep joy. Meanwhile, Van Wilder is doing it for Belgium, but I'm afraid Vermeersch in the hot seat is going to have to start thinking about a plastic stacker, because he's not going to be sitting in there for much longer if Leonard keeps this up.
No, and it's so fascinating to look at the position. Like, we've discussed it endlessly, but now we are getting to this end of the action where that makes such a huge difference. And you could see him just like quick look up, as you say, and then back into position, because it's just constantly teetering on that balance, isn't it, of holding the best aero position you possibly can, but of course not allowing yourself to make any mistakes up the road on any of these turns. If any sections become a little bit more technical, you've got to be ready for that. Of course, they know what lies ahead, but in practice that can be very different when you're doing this at the extreme race paces that we're seeing now. But I just really enjoy watching people get in and out of that position, because the longer you can keep it, whilst keeping it upright, of course, and manoeuvring these turns and dead turns, especially to come back up the other way, as we're seeing on today's course, you know, the more the gains have been made for riders. But yeah, you can just see now how much riders are utilising every inch of those descents that they can pedal on just to maximise the gains. But yeah, be a little bit more tentative on that turn.
Ryan Tara-May is a good time trialist, and Michael Shade Leonard is proving that potentially he is a great time trialist today. When we looked at the course originally, it seemed a bit of a stinger as far as fully committed traditional time trialists. But if you function on mixed terrain, you can thrive today. And I feel that that this man, Michael Leonard, is doing just that. Also, Canada seem to be able to mark themselves out for greatness. They seem to time their runs, either that into the Olympics, into the World Championships, into just about anything that is required. They seem to time their runs absolutely brilliantly. They always thrive on track and road, and right now this man is thriving on this time trial.
And that's what you need, isn't it? So we just watch him take that turn, and it's such a fine art, but also to be given the ability to do that, as you say, to do it effectively, because of course everybody's season can look very different, and to get your preparations and your timing right, and to decide when you look at the wider season, or not even just one season, when you're looking at Olympic cycles and how you place importance on World Championships, you can't peak for absolutely everything. And it might sound obvious, but when we've seen riders who just seem to be on this endless run of luck, we then see them get a big illness or an injury, and you're always looking at the longevity, not only of success, but your career and your well-being and your health and your ability to back up performances. So when we see people do it very well, there's a lot that's gone into that behind the scenes, of course.
Utter niche, second quickest so far, giving away 34 seconds to Florian Vermeersch. Would have been favoured by the course. He's quite a good sort of hills man. So maybe somebody as well that you wouldn't have expected to produce a spectacular performance here. Second quickest so far, albeit giving away 34 seconds. All of the timing sheets are about to be ripped up, as indeed Michael Leonard will be coming home fairly shortly. Here indeed is Luke Plapp. Looks like he's chugging just a little bit. That's not a classical position he's in at the moment. Does get there right now. We'll see how he is thriving or struggling a little bit later on. Indeed, as far as the latest times are concerned, Luke Plapp was fourth at the first timing point, giving away 19 seconds. We'll see whether that's been magnified or whether he's held on to the margin for this next one. It will give us an indication of how much he's got left for the rest of the run.
Yeah, well, I'm just having a look down now at some of these earlier splits, and yeah, we just had sight on Luke Plapp, didn't we? Just sort of going back into that position and just getting himself back to where he wanted to be physically in that position on the bike. Van Wilder here for Belgium.
Again, this is potentially going to be a trim. He's still got a way to go to get to Michael Leonard's time, which really did give us a big wake up. But Van Wilder as well is going to set yet a new benchmark. We are loving this. We're seeing the pendulum swing almost constantly, and it's back into the Belgian vanguard right now by a margin of 42 seconds. What a trim that is.
It certainly is. Just getting sights as it just gets better and better as we go. But back we are at the start ramp.
Del Toro, what a prospect. And I mean, how has he carried himself out of the Giro d'Italia, for goodness sake? And what might have been? We ask that so often, don't we, of so many riders, and particularly at the beginning of their career. How do they cope with that? Making a lot of headlines, of course. I mean, he's one of those spectaculars, really. A lot is hanging upon his shoulders of Isaac Del Toro, isn't it?
There is, and it's down to, again, how riders handle that, isn't it? Yeah. And I think we do often look at the stars of our sport at that level that he's at. You expect riders to become superhuman, to not, I think something that we've seen become more prevalent recently is riders saying, do you know what, I do absorb the press, I do know what people are saying about me, and I do have to measure that when I come into big targets. And I think, yeah, sometimes we do make the assumption that when a rider is so good that it's water off a duck's back, and they're not absorbing that. But there's so many different elements to it, to keeping your calm and to keeping your mental well-being coming into all these targets as well. And I just think that understandably you're going to have pressure, huge pressure on riders' shoulders, but we do sometimes have to remind ourselves that these riders are also human, and we've seen it prominently this season, haven't we? We've seen Lotte Kopecky actually come out and say, I'm just being really honest about, I'm just not having a great time this season. I've suffered with endless injuries. I've, suffered with illness, with setbacks, and people are talking about me like I'm just always going to win regardless of that. And whilst it's nice to have belief in a rider, sometimes that rider just isn't going to be at their best for whatever reason. And I think she's really highlighted that there's a lot of different pressures that come with that.
You know, choosing your friends is one thing. Choosing your entourage when you are a professional as well is also of magnified importance, because the demands that they make, you have to ask yourself at a certain part in your career whether they are demanding something from you that is best for them or best for you. And sometimes there's a difference between the two without naming any names or wanting to get involved with any finger pointing. But you know, some riders, they're just handled badly. Let's put it that way. They don't get the right guidance. And when you're a young man as well, like Isaac Del Toro, he's 21 years of age. He was runner-up in the Giro d'Italia. And he got an awful lot of stick for not winning the Giro d'Italia. For goodness sake, he's a kid. Leave him alone.
But I think that is what so quickly happens. Sometimes I have to go back to a rider's stats and go, they're only 21. And I think that, again, it goes back to that assumption that once somebody has shown either promise or a big result or has gone up to that level, because I think that narrative shifts, doesn't it? It's what is a young rider going to do? Oh, they're developing, they're coming good. But actually, once they firmly put themselves on the map and they do a big result, then our expectations as onlookers goes up and up and up. And then it changes the narrative to, well, why didn't you take that? And the kind of, trying to think of the right word here, really, but there's just no allowance there for the fact that a rider is still very much learning and developing. And again, riders are the first to admit, I'm learning all the time.
Yep.
Even at the very, very pinnacle of the Grand Tours, riders are still learning.
Garcia Perna, this will be a disappointment to him. Possibly expected a little bit more of him. Just going back to Del Toro, runner-up in the Giro d'Italia after getting his strategy wrong, really. But Simon Yates taking a famous victory after such a margin between his first and second Grand Tour wins. But yeah, Giro d'Italia. And then guess what? He's got his rack full of disappointment, wins the Tour of Austria. Then he wins the Classica Terras Elba. Then he wins the Getxco. Then he wins the Tour of Burgos, and then he wins the Industria Artigiato. He wins the Della Toscana. He wins the Primera Città Piccoli, and he wins the Trofeo Matteotti, which is the last race he did before coming here. Leave him alone. He's a genius.
And he's 21.
He's 21.
And he's 21.
Goodness me.
Gosh, I was not doing that when I was 21.
No.
Racking up lots of race wins.
No. When I was 21, it involved, I don't know.
We'll leave that there as to what we were up to at the age of 21.
Probably dominoes I was good at, but that was about it. Rio is Romeo Abad, and he takes himself off the ramp, and we are getting to the pointy end of what remains. We have it's Ivan Romeo. So they put it as Romeo Abad. It's Ivan Romeo, by the way, in case you were thinking, who the hell or who on earth is Romeo Abad?
Who's Romeo?
It's Ivan Romeo. Sobrero, it caught me out, to be honest. I was thinking, hang on, that looks like Ivan Romeo. Better check. And of course it was. Sobrero has just crossed the line at 49.81. What about Ivan Romeo? Should we call him by his correct name? Catania is going to be coming off next. This is Jay Vine you're looking at, a man who is an aficionado, would you believe, on war history.
Really?
Yes, he spends his downtime. He had some significant injuries. Yeah, I spoke to him personally about it because my dear departed dad, he was very much involved in the Korean War, and Jay and I had a long old chat about it. But yeah, he finds it absolutely fascinating. I think the levels of commitment and sacrifice that people have made because of conflict throughout the past, and yeah, it's something that just spurs him on, I think. Tales of daring do. And as a result, he's got himself a Spitfire pilot's moustache. What about that? There we are. Meanwhile,
why?
Yeah.
we'll go back to that. Here's Remco Evenepoel.
He is with his aero haircut. He saw a picture of me and thought, that looks good.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's the one. He's going for it. And so is Luke Plapp. How's Luke doing on the splits?
Let's have a look. Confirmation of how that is looking for Luke Plapp. And of course, we just had sight of Jay Vine as well, didn't we?
We're actually waiting for his second time check. It's just about to come up. He was trailing by 21 seconds at the first split, but that's retrievable. But as his shoulders just start to waver here, and his target is a 32.06, and he's beyond that now. So every second from now until that clock stops at this second split is potentially going to be against him. There we are.
Let's have a look.
Van Wilder is the next time to fall. No, Van Wilder was our leader at this point. And as it stands, he's going to be second quickest, I think, through here, Luke Plapp. It's hard to tell with the gearing, because you just don't know when you look at the cadence that they're setting, how quickly they are going. It might look laboured, but he's still marching along second quickest. Yeah,
it's impossible. I feel like it's impossible to tell today because every single rider, no matter what power they're unleashing, is looking like they're laboured and struggling. Because everybody's suffering. Plapp himself said this is, it's going to be brutal today, and there is no respite, of course, on this TT course. It's one that's 40.6 kilometres in entirety, 681 metres of elevation gain, a very big slog at the end of cobbles, and then more ascending. So I don't think anybody is in the typical TT floaty style looking unlaboured, because of course there's so much to contend with.
Here's our young genius. I mean, I hope for his
good.
sake that there is another opportunity that presents itself for him to win a Grand Tour, because the chance came early. And you never know when you miss a big one, when the next one will be along for you to have a nibble at that, because you can have signed up to help others. But this young Mexican is just phenomenal, and proving again that the world of cycling has stars peppered throughout this planet.
Yeah, and I see your point completely, because I can only imagine what it's like to think, well, what if I don't have the opportunity to ride for myself as the priority? What if my one opportunity that was the biggest of my career presented itself and I didn't capitalize on it fully? But he's 21, and I think he's got such a long road ahead of him as well, that, everybody can see what he can do, and that's absolutely amazing. And what he can do, it'll be very interesting to see how today plays out as well. Of course, he's been a name way up there when anyone has been talking about contenders for today.
Where's Michael Leonard? I'm waiting for him to finish. I don't think he's come through yet, unless he really did go pop. No, I think we're going to be waiting to see him. So I'm looking forward to that. Next start will be Walter Vargas, then Jay Vine, RY'ISI, Stefan Kung, Tadej Pogačar, and Remco Evenepoel. The start house and its drummers will indeed fall silent fairly soon. Here's Seixas, and this is basically showing us what Ilan Van Wilder's got, because Seixas is missing something here.
Yeah. And we're just starting to see those comparisons, aren't we, as we get more and more information from these intermediate time checks. And it's been so hard to read it. And we have had so many question marks as to who was really going to be able to capitalize on this nature of course. And I think even the riders came in the last few days saying, we do not know the effects of conditions when we actually arrive there, when we acclimatize. We don't also know what every rider has had in the way of preparation, because some people, as we know, have been very visible in the very recent Grand Tour here, but other riders have been somewhat more hidden in their preparations. And I've loved the fighting talk between Remco and Tadej of like, I'm ready. Well, I'm ready. And we know Pogačar wouldn't be here today if he didn't think he could win this, but I still think it's going to be a task, because Remco has not only got such an all-round ability of skills in this specific discipline and on a course like today, but psychologically he deals well with pressure. He wants to make history. He wants the rainbow bands again today.
I want a great fight.
Here's the other man.
It'd be wonderful to see Tadej Pogačar dealing with Remco Evenepoel and vice versa. And they're going to do it as a pure measure, because they go off one after the other.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be fascinating to see the run through the course. The head-to-heads are going to be very easy to assemble. So, Tadej Pogačar setting off after Stefan Kung and before Remco Evenepoel. Meanwhile, Mr. Munten has climbed a mountain. And there is Florian Vermeersch's time. He's still got another pickup to do. It's going to be very tight, this. Here we are, count him in like a rocket launch. I don't think he's quite going to get there, but that is a very fine effort, I've got to say, until he gets the line. He's very close indeed. Oh my goodness. 2 seconds. And he's going to look at that and think all night, how could I have found those 2 seconds? Jay Vine comes off the ramp, carrying his fighter pilot's moustache out of the arena and into battle.
I've been admiring the moustache and the commitment to the style, but I didn't know the backstory to it. So thank you once again, Carlton, for filling me in on that. But really excited to see Jay Vine today.
Come on, Michael. Let's get this job done. There he is. Well, he's going to bring this up the mountain.
Oh,
he's going to be in the lead, but for how long? The tongue's hanging out like that invisible ice cream up in front of him. And now the big prize is at the line. It's a hot seat for now. And there it is, just being kept warm by Florian Vermeersch. But I think he knows as he unpacks his...
Prepping.
Yeah, he's got a little carton of orange juice.
Prepping
he's
to
going to go and enjoy it in a minute. Meanwhile, Here comes Michael Leonard, and he's going to take the lead. He's got another little rise to deal with, so it'll be closer to a minute of advantage by the end. But he has had a superb second part of this race. In fact, he's been pretty tidy throughout the entire run. Chapeau, my friend. That is brilliant. He's our new leader by a minute and 10.
Goodness me, what a margin there. And you just got a sight, didn't you? We got a close-up on how laboured that was on that gradient. There's not been any poker faces today on this final kilometre, has there? You can just see the tongues out, the gritted teeth of each and every rider just getting it all out on the course here today. Talking of which, here's Del Toro.
It is, yeah. At the convention centre, there it is. New benchmark. It's by Michael Leonard. Yeah, it was Suzanne was the song that I was trying to remember. There we go.
The important part of why we're all here today.
Exactly that. Del Toro, the bull. Well, let's see what he can do. He's running at the moment and doing a fantastic job. He's very active on the bike. He's a bit like one of those little pushy toys you get when you're little. His head seems to come in and out of his shoulders when he's pedaling. It's just his style. Have you never noticed that?
Well, he's 21. He's
do what he likes.
He can do anything at this point.
Right now, he's leading at the split by 9 seconds. Fantastic!
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
it's all happening. It is all happening. Back to the start.
Bruno Amerai. He's off. He's underway. How do these guys do it? I don't know. I fear for their wrists.
The endurance effort, I must say, from the drumming team has been second to none. They've kept up at every intermediate time split.
They were having lunch at the beginning of the men's race. And
I know.
They missed their own map.
They missed a couple of minutes there, but they're back in full force. And now we are getting to the very hot end of the action.
We are. So within the next, 7 minutes, they're all going to be on course and active.
Everybody will be out.
Get yourself ready. It's going to be big news. These are deep section wheels, aren't they?
Yeah, I love looking at the display of tech. And of course, it's not going to be the same for everybody. But we've also nodded to the fact that it's, of course, not just having an incredible technical setup on your bike and the best equipment, but some riders more than others have had time in their season or have placed priority in their season on actually drilling their position in that setup, because of course you don't just get into an aggressive time trial position overnight and go, right, this is how I'm going to ride at the Worlds. It takes a lot, and I think that's evolved so much as well. Each season we see something new in the way of aero gains, in the way of measuring what you can do. And I think the interesting point today as well is it's not straightforward. It's not just a case of sitting in TT position all day, because you quite simply can't. And then it's looking, as we go up the start list and more into our favourite contenders, who's keeping position longer, who's able to keep in that tuck and keep their head down. And aero testing, we know, is so important for riders that want to now win at this level. There's no stone unturned in that area now.
Back to Stefan Kung. Well, the two favourites are still to come, but Stefan Kung is somebody who can upset, because occasionally he's an all-terrain vehicle. More often than not, he's having to work for others. But right now, the Swiss is hoping that he can bring yet more joy to Switzerland. There's a clue there for you. Meanwhile, this man
is done so well.
he's getting off and underway. Fantastic. Now, he's one of the, I guess, heavier of the riders who are out here. Don't take too much away from that. Rain Taramay comes in. Clock didn't stop against him, but was about a minute and a half. Don't worry too much about that. Meanwhile, back out on course, and Mexico's Del Toro is still there. Watch his constant adjustments here, because I've been noting that within the space of a minute, he's getting 4 or 5 readjustments on the saddles. I think it's a marker of the level of commitment that he's engaged with, to be honest. This does not look like the biggest drive to this split that we are looking at right now. It'd be handy to have a clock, to be honest. You know, it is. It is the race of truth against the clock.
It is why we're all here.
Yes, exactly. Time.
Clock significant.
Time. It's an important thing. Meanwhile, back to Del Toro. Just a quick mention of Stefan Kung. I was just saying about how he is quite a powerful rider. By that, I mean his frame, his own bodily frame, his genus is quite thick set, but because of that, it generates a lot of power, and he's not bad at indeed some of the faster sections here, of which we have plenty, as you can see right now from Del Toro. If you can impose yourself here, that's time gained, and maybe just a bit of slip room when it comes to the peaks. Well,
it will be exactly that, and I think that is why this Worlds course has fascinated us so much today. And actually, again, not giving it all away, but in the women's race, there were some surprises, weren't there?
Yeah.
Of riders we expected to come in as out-and-out favourites and to possibly capitalise more on the course than they were able to do. So that in turn, I think, means that you equally can't write off someone saying, well, there's this amount of elevation gain, because actually, as you say, the power that riders have been able to maintain and really gather and just push everything out of on some of these descents, like that has been possible as well. So I think, of course, we've just got such a range of riders out there today.
Cool. Look at this. Van Wilder is not only going to take control, he's smashed the clock. That is amazing.
Wow.
Well, we're going to pace on that. We didn't see much of it, but Van Wilder's in charge. The reason we're hooking back is Tadej Pogačar is off the wrap. He missed the Vuelta. He has been getting himself ready for this. They know a champion. We know one as well. And he has set off absolutely dialed in. Watch these first few corners. Just raises the inside pedal here, but watch him get the power on immediately after the corner. He'll do exactly the same here. Flick-flacking round every single one of the chicanes, straight onto the skis. He'll be back off those in a moment, and here he is. But you know what? 3 seconds on the skis is better than no time on them at all. So he's out of this corner again. He's powering into position, out of the saddle. He'll be back down there. Aero magnificent. Fully dialed in. He's underway.
He's underway. He's dialed. That is the word right there, Carlton. Look at that start. He effortlessly throws his bike course with no problem, no concern. He's got this, and he is a joy to watch because of it. We've talked about the fact that we know he's put in specific preparations for today. He is a rider that's not going to leave anything to chance. He's not, oh, I'll turn up to the TT and see how it goes. He's going to have everything on the line today, and he wants to beat Evenepoel. They have both made no secret about how big this rivalry is.
And Van Wilder is doing a brilliant job, has done a brilliant job. A 52.22 for this course is absolutely outstanding. He has bettered Michael Shea Leonard by 1:17 at the finish. That is massive. Keeping cool. And if you're thinking, well, how on earth did he manage to get through that? Well, you're actually looking at the efforts involved right there. Evenepoel is still to come. We'll see how much information is sent back down the course to Evenepoel. Meanwhile, Tadej Pogačar is already eating into this course. You're going to have to essentially do a sprint for the entire distance today if you want to beat this man. Tadej Pogačar is an all-terrain vehicle, we remind you. He climbs brilliantly. He time trials exceptionally. He can even get involved in a sprint or two. Well, he looked at the course and thought, I'm inspired to do this. Took his time off La Vuelta to be time trial world champion. Remco Evenepoel knows this. He has been, of course, champion for the last 2 years and wants to make it a hat trick. It's now.
Talking of a hat trick, Carlton, I've alluded to the fact we're going to see some spectacular kit and tech come out to play in these final few riders, and look at his helmet. It's absolutely spectacular and, of course, well earned. Why wouldn't you? But it's interesting already just to see the different techniques at the start here.
Well, he's head down sprinting and indeed not really getting up. If you notice, when he does get on the drops, he still maintains an aero position. This is top time trialing you're looking at right now. Potentially a hat trick of victories for him. Stays out of the saddle quite a bit longer. Gets onto the skis right now. That helmet, by the way, you may have noticed what looked like a few blemishes to it as well. It's because it's real gold leaf that they have put onto the helmet and then covered it with a very light coating. So essentially, he is carrying the Olympic champion's lid with pride to bring him luck into this one.
And it's happy birthday to Tadej Pogačar.
Do you know what? There's a cake somewhere with a candle in it for him.
He wants the cake today. He
wants it, and he wants to eat it as well.
He always does, and actually he does. He doesn't just want to have his cake and eat it. He absolutely does.
Today might be that day. Here's Garcia-Pena. Now, this is a big disappointment to me. I was hoping that this might be a flash of genius, but unfortunately, it's in the pan.
Yeah. I'm seeing that red time split there. It's just coming through, 100 meters to go.
Well, he's raised his level when it comes to time trialing over the last couple of races. Sixth place in Romandy was very, very impressive. I was there. He looked fantastic. Disappointed me because I had him as a top 5 finisher, but there you go, bless him. I've been looking forward to seeing him go today, but this time I'm afraid is not going to set any bonfires on underneath the timings. He is already in a virtual podium, which shows you just how classy the time has been so far. You know, Ilan van Wilder, I don't know what messages he will have sent back to Remco Evenepoel. Remco Evenepoel is not a man who's given to taking on too much information. He generally tends to do things himself in his own way. So let's just wait and see. But yeah, Garcia-Pena still on the podium at the moment, but it shows you the gulf as it stands between those who finished and those who are still to come potentially.
Yeah, it's been really interesting indeed, hasn't it? It's told us a lot of the things that we wanted to know earlier on today. But yeah, talking there about Remco Evenepoel and the way he approaches things. And I think that's what makes him such a special rider, isn't it? That he is riding his own race to an extent. He's got to have that conviction and belief in abilities and what he needs to do to secure it. And of course, you have so much team support around you. You cannot do this you can't do these things on your own in this sport, but you've got to have your own belief at the core of that. That's what he has in spades.
Sobrero. Well, let's see. Sounds like a sun hat. The clouds, I'm afraid, have wafted in. Thankfully, it's remained dry, despite the fact it has a look of dampness about the road surface. It may well be afternoon dew that we are starting to experience. Sobrero still third quickest. Can you believe it? There's a lot of tight times.
Yeah, certainly are. Become tighter. And I was talking about the fact that, and here we go, just some confirmation there.
Sobrero, third quickest behind Michael Shea Leonard and Ilan van Wilder. Still so impressed with Michael Leonard. That was a great ride, but Van Wilder was just in a different level. A 52.22. Just to put it in perspective, the only rider who's broken 46 kilometers an hour, considering the climbing that we've done. Van Wilder, brilliant. His average pace through the entire run at 46.5. The nearest was Michael Leonard at 45.4 at the finish. So a whole kilometer per hour. So extrapolate that. It's, I mean, if you're doing 46.5, what's our course length here? You finished nearly a kilometer ahead of everybody else.
It's pretty staggering, isn't it, when you put it like that? Yeah.
Here we go. Luke Plapp. Now then, he's in the hoarded section here. What can he deliver?
Oh, just look at the pain etched on the face of Luke Plapp. Everything now. We know how brutal this final run into the line is.
Well, he's gone into this little dish, I'm afraid. There's no lapping kittens at the edge of it. He is, I'm afraid, going to be second place. Yes, 27 seconds is the margin. I don't know where those kittens came from, but anyway, having kittens, I imagine all Luke Plapp fans. Didn't quite get there, but what a great effort it was by the great man. 27 seconds down on the more than impressive Ilan van Wilder, and only the second rider to bust 46 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, it was a really impressive, solid ride. ride from Platt, wasn't it? And I think it was really hard to read his body language and the way he was executing that on the course. It's been really hard, hasn't it, to read until we confirmation of the time checks. It's been really hard to see because everybody is suffering out there, and we know that he said that earlier on, is that there's no respite in terms of how it's being paced and recovery opportunities. That's another thing, isn't it? Because we know someone like Remco can just do that ultimate pacing effort to know that you're digging deep, but you can't go beyond that red, especially at the meters of elevation that these riders are operating at today. Recovery is everything, and when there isn't an opportunity to just use it as to recover, because we know they're going to be pressing everything they can out, the power output on those sort of lengthy, wide, fast descents, you know, when you've got to make the split-second gains that Remco is going to be looking for today, because of course he wants it, but he wants it more than ever because he's going to put it in history books. He wants to do it 3 times. But yeah, there's no resting, and you could see with the ride of Luke Plapp and just what that took out of him on that finish line.
Remco Evenepoel is catching the motorbike. That's a security bike just to make sure the road is clear ahead of him. And right now, this is an absolute pleasure to watch. I haven't seen too much of Tadej Pogačar so far. He set off in advance of course, Remco Evenepoel, and the first splits are indeed, we're desperate. There's an aero bottle, all the tech at our disposal, and Arensman comes in, and another good time.
Yeah, we're just watching the clock here for Arensman coming in for the Netherlands, and you can just hear the chanting by the road. You got the fan club there. But it's been spectacular all day, just the sense of atmosphere here. The first time we've seen the worlds come to Africa, here in Rwanda, in Kigali. And, oh, gosh, what action we are seeing play out before our eyes now. Here's Stefan Kung.
It is Stefan Kung. By the way, at the first timing point, Del Toro has gone through quickest. He is 2 seconds to the good on Jay Vine. Bruna Amarai has just speared through, only 7 seconds down, and they're coming thick and fast, the big times. Van Wilder and Leknesson separated by, indeed, 6 seconds, waiting for Arensman to come through that second checkpoint. He was 7th quickest, despite the fans, at 18 seconds. And in fact, he's improved his position, if not the time. He's a 4th at the second checkpoint. Here's Seixas just cresting the first of a series of little rises before he actually gets to the line here. And already, for a rider like Seixas to be this far down is a real description of what Ilan van Wilder has actually produced here.
Yeah, it's just further evidence of how staggering that ride, that time set by Van Wilder was for Belgium. And yeah, as you can see here, that's the benchmark, that's the comparison. 1:38.07 there down for Seixas.
Well, he's in 5th place. 38.07, so he is about 15 seconds down on Sobrero in 4th place. Michael Leonard still in a virtual podium at the moment for Canada after a great ride. He won't be medaling, I'm afraid, today. But Luke Plapp would have hopes. Ilan van Wilder might have some delivery, let's see. And here's Del Toro coming to the second intermediate. Clock still green on him. And don't forget that when he went through the first split, he has set our benchmark. Now he's drifted a little bit into the clutches of Jay Van Wilder at this point. We're waiting for Jay Vine to come through here, but let's see. Oh, he's tying up a bit.
Yeah.
He went deep early.
He did, and it's yeah, I'm just like waiting bated breath to see that stop there. But yeah, but I still don't. It's not over till it's over, and I still think that is a characteristic of today, that we're not expecting it to be really obvious early on how much somebody can set that sort of time and hold it, because of course some people will have more ability to fare the weather that we're going to see later on with the cobbles, with the ascents, with everything thrown at the riders. But very interesting to see the change in time gap there for Del Toro. Jay Vine, you just mentioned him because we haven't had sights on Jay Vine very much so far, have we? Coming through the first timing point, 2 seconds down on Del Toro.
Yeah, amazing. In fact, I don't think it appears we don't have a camera on Jay Vine, but we'll see him finished, that's for sure. and there's so much talent, to be honest, spread across the road. This course, it's kind of difficult to keep in touch with absolutely everybody. And it's Tadej Pogačar. This has been a rarity too. He's still got 30.6 kilometers of the race, the course today to deal with. He's 13.5 minutes into his run, and he always looks so comfortable. That's the danger of this man, isn't it?
It is. He always looks so comfortable, and I think. And this is the direct comparison you were saying that we were going to get treated to, with these being our penultimate and our ultimate rider out on the course, of course. But yeah, what really strikes me with Tadej Pogačar is it's not just his effortless style and look on the bike, is it? It's his whole demeanour, the way he just is so relaxed, so often with the press. Yeah, he's just such a solid individual, isn't he? He's just really sorted and just ever calm, seemingly. But what is so staggering, and I know it's something we talk about so often, but we can't not, is his all-round ability to just continue to shock and delight cycling fans. Every time you think, today perhaps is the one time it's not suited to Pogačar. Oh no, he's turned it around, and guess what? It is, and he makes it so. And here we go. This is a really pivotal point coming up for Pogačar, but he is just a joy to watch because of it, because you can never write him off.
Check that out. Less than a second down on Del Toro, who, let's face it, put everything on the line in the first, indeed, section of this course, and then faded when it came to the second checkpoint. So he took an advantage over Jay Vine, for example, of 2 seconds at that split and turned it into a 16-second deficit, I'm afraid. So let's wait and see. Jay Vine will be next one through, actually, our next chiming point. We're having a look at him. But Remco Evenepoel, it's basically mano a mano for this one at the end between Pogačar and Evenepoel, possibly with Ilan van Wilder entering the fray. We'll see if Del Toro manages to pick it up. We'll see what Jay Vine does as well when we get our next checkpoint. I think Jay Vine might surprise us today because he's in quite a precocious mood. He's bounced back from injury and he basically went to the barbecue table at UAE and ate all the sausages. That was the welter. He helped himself to what he fancied, quite frankly, and good luck to him. It was amazing.
Jay Vine is amazing. I had the pleasure of interviewing him during the process of the Zwift Academy, and I found him so endearing from the off. He's another character in this sport that came in through a really interesting route. And then just, I mean, we knew from that the power he had. But, Evenepoel coming up here.
Oh my life.
Just pause that one for a moment.
You want to trim? Check that out. Now then, first intermediate. And we remind you that Tadej Pogačar has been through here. So... this is fascinating because Evenepoel leads Pogačar at the first checkpoint by 45 seconds. No disrespect to Del Toro, but Remco Evenepoel is fully dialed in. Too early? Don't know. What can Pogačar do when we get to the climbs? A lot. Can he make up 45 seconds? That is huge.
This is... this is the fight that we have been so eagerly anticipating, isn't it? And there's still so many questions. It's certainly not over yet. But what a time already from Remco Evenepoel. We knew we had the confidence coming in.
Leknesund is coming home. The clock is red against him. So Ilan van Wilder still stands there. What is the problem with Tadej Pogačar? Is there a problem at all? Well, he's got a problem, and that's 45 seconds sized kind of problem.
I think his problem is Remco Evenepoel.
Yes, most definitely, who is absolutely dialed in and determined. And at the moment is absolutely going for it. But whether he'll burn down is anybody's guess. On paper, Remco Evenepoel looks like the winner in waiting. But the thing about paper is it's highly flammable. Let's wait and see what plans are afoot a little bit later on.
Well, we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. Ultimately, we don't have a choice. But this is getting very exciting indeed.
Ina van Wilde, Leknesund, only 21 seconds down. That was very close at hand at the finish. Sorry, we're still in shock regarding Remco Evenepoel's gap on Tadej Pogačar. And so it almost distracted us. But congratulations, Leknesund. That was brilliant. Another rider. There's only 3 of them at 46 kilometers per hour and more for the run. Let me just tell you that Remco Evenepoel at the moment is holding at the first time check 45.2 average. The fastest part of the course comes into the 3rd checkpoint. It involves a big downhill run, which you can really pile into. And here's your head-to-head, and it's extending. Remco Evenepoel has a margin of 51 seconds. That's not 0.51 of a second. That is nearly a minute over Tadej Pogačar. What is going on? Remco Evenepoel is burning it down.
Do you know what? Remco Evenepoel has so openly said to every member of the press this week how ready he is to take on this battle. He has been not quietly confident, but so overtly ready, waiting, confident, just wanting to take on this race today and win it and secure the bands. And we knew that Tadej Pogačar wanted to upset that. And you can never, ever write off Pogačar. We've just extensively said all the reasons above for that, because he has, in so many scenarios, not come in as the likely favourite, but has just turned the tables. But I think today Remco just knew that he hadn't just had a brilliant preparation coming into it, but this is where he ultimately shines. But even just watching the 2 of them come off the ramp and how they approached the start of this race was so contrasting and so different. But what they have in common is that ultimate confidence of the way that they can throw the bike around with just utter conviction that they know like this. And it's such a delight to watch. What a brilliant battle. And we had eyes on Jay Vine momentarily a moment ago. I was talking about him before we saw the time of Remco come in at the intermediate, and yeah, what a talking point that has proven to be. But I was talking about Jay Vine, and then we got a sight of his face actually, and he looked very calm and concentrated.
Angisha is coming in for Rwanda, and listen to the roar. Let's just let the crowd welcome him home, shall we? How nice is that? He may be 6 minutes down, but he's absolutely up there in popularity here, and thanks to him and indeed the good people of Kigali, they have produced a fabulous atmosphere here, haven't they?
And this is what is really important to know. Not only how amazing this is for Rwanda, how amazing the crowds have been and the reaction to that, but there are so many riders fielding today, and this is not about a podium position for them. It's not about a top 10 position. That's not what they came in with expectations for today. It's gaining experience at this world level, going up against the likes of Pogačar and Evenepoel and Jay Vine, and what that is going to do not only for individual riders, but it transcends that. It inspires more people in this part of the world to ride, to have positivity, to inspire generations, and it's so important.
There's your first intermediate. He's coming up to the second now. It would be great if he starts to split and get in amongst that scrap for time here, because at the moment, Van Wilde at the second checkpoint still stands loud and proud after the impressive Leknesund at the second split got to within 6 seconds of him. Del Toro, third quickest at that point. Here comes Evenepoel. Oh, little shimmy. For goodness sake, Remco, hold it together. He's pushing absolutely to the very limit. If he needed that extra bit of road just between the feet of the barriers, he's going to take it.
But this is what we see, isn't it? At this... We need to calm down. Yeah. No, this is what we see, though, when it gets this tight, when we get to this level, at this point in the action, You know, it's never over. And we are seeing these riders push to the absolute limit. We've seen it with the likes of Jay Vine just pushing everything to test what they can, to get everything out of themselves and the bike. But
got at the moment, because he needs an awful lot in the remainder of this course. I mean, getting time back on riders, you think, well, 45 seconds, that's doable over a big course. But on Remco Evenepoel, that sounds like a job already completed by the Belgian. Let's see, here's Jay Vine at the moment, digging very, very deep. Ilan van Wilder's time, he's coming into the timing barriers right now. I think this is going to be a big trim, and not just of his moustache. This is going to be something amazing. Let's see, Jay Vine is going to get there. What's the margin? What is he going to be in green here, essentially? Clock is going to stop any moment now. 26 seconds up. That's fabulous.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we were just talking about this man, weren't we? Not just about his moustache. But Jay Vine is, I was going to kind of go into his journey through this sport, and the fact that, yeah, he's been a rider that I've closely interviewed from the days of Zwift Academy. So we knew that he had power. We knew that he was completely unrivaled when you just ultimately tested what his output was. But then the way he's evolved through the sport, but not only that, he's not just had like one injury setback. The way he has regathered himself and come back from the hugest adversity. And also, I think another thing to consider today is not everybody's had the same run into this. Not everybody's had the same preparation. Some people have had completely unknown form. Other riders like Jay Vine have had back-to-back performances, and we know he's got form, but this is looking really handy today.
Amirail, you know, part of the great ignored here, and there's no justification for it really, because this is a super solid run by the Frenchman. 52 seconds down, and you're thinking, well, 52 seconds down, well, 45 seconds. That was Tadej Pogačar himself. So if you do the difference between Amirail and Pogačar, it's only 7 seconds. So if it wasn't for Remco Evenepoel, we'd be talking about Amirail like the stars were being realigned. Amazing. Jay Vine at the moment is also very much in that vanguard.
Yes, and I think that is something else to make sure that we qualify, is that when you do have a rider making some of those splits look like riders are quite far down, we've got to look at what ride these these guys are actually putting in. And we've had some really impressive rides that would have been well up there if it wasn't for the upset of the likes of Remco Evenepoel. But here we are back with Tadej Pogačar, just over 20 kilometers for the birthday boy.
I don't know. Maybe it was that cupcake this morning. I've no idea. But
that was his breakfast.
Yeah, possibly, with a candle in it.
He could still win if his nutrition was a cupcake.
Bless him. Let's see. Just under 20 kilometers to go. He looks calm, but one suggests that maybe this needs a sense of urgency, and we're seeing that dripping from Remco Evenepoel, aren't we? He looks all over the bike, Evenepoel. It's not as pretty as looking at Tadej Pogačar, but boy, is it effective.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? And I hope we get more split screen views just to compare the stances of our two top favourites today.
Here's Amirail coming to the second split. Now, Jay Vine, don't forget, had the beating of Van Wilder, and I believe that Amirail will also at this point. 26 seconds is the Amirail time. Jay Vine, indeed, that was his deficit down, so possibly not quite going to be there. But we were lauding Ilan van Wilder, and I think we need to start lauding the likes of Bruno Amirail, who's on a very exceptional run here. But as the clock works against him here, maybe news has got through as to where he stands, 40 seconds down. So that would still be better than Del Toro, who led at the first split, save for Evenepoel.
Yeah, we're keeping a good eye, aren't we, on all these splits and what that means for the wider race. Because, yeah, of course, we have 3 podium positions up for grabs, and I mentioned earlier that some riders, a top 10 of course is a major target in this race as well. So keeping an eye on the state of play of all these contenders, and just keeping up with those intermediate time checks at the moment. But here he is, the man you've just mentioned,
Del Toro. He's going to finish the task. He's got to get up over the gnarly bit. He's got 2.2 kilometers to go, and the steepest part of this climb is about to come in the next 100 meters or so. You'll see that with the stripping out of the pace down to 17 kilometers an hour. This is one of the quickest through this part of the course I've seen.
Let's see what Del Toro stops the clock at. 2.1k to go, and in any other scenario we might be saying almost there, but we know how difficult this final is of this time trial here for the elite men, and 2 kilometers can seem like a mightily long way, not only for us sat here comfortably. These riders are fighting to just limit any loss at this point in the race, with just 2k remaining for Del Toro. He's
coping with this extremely well. I think he's the quickest through here that we've seen, actually.
Yeah, and again, and some riders just have a completely different style on the bike. We can't always read it, but keeping smooth across this section has been a big order for some of these riders. But yeah, he's looking to be flying over this as best possible. But this is just a brutal finish to the day. Every rider who's finished has said it earlier on this morning from the women's race. But just when you think it's over, it's not. And this is impressive.
Del Toro, the bull, fabulous rider, great personality as well, was extraordinarily humble when the Giro d'Italia slipped through his fingers. Here's Heidemann coming to the line for Germany, bringing great cheer to them, but I'm afraid that 2 minutes and 16, still accounting for a top 10, can you believe it? That just shows you the quality of riders who have been through. Meanwhile, Del Toro is about to bring this to a close. Timo Ahrensman also has indeed, has he drawn to a close, Ahrensman? Yes, 5th for the time being. Del Toro is on this final drag. Meanwhile, Swiss time is running out. And here is Mr. Kung. And I'm afraid it's not going to be. He's had such a busy season. I'm not surprised. He's been in the service of so many.
Yeah, and we've talked about that element, haven't we, of not only preparations coming in, but how your season's looked. And we've got riders here that have done so much tireless work for the rest of their trade teammates all season. And so, yeah, you've got to measure that today.
Here is Ahrensman at the finish line through his, at the 3rd checkpoint, he was 5th. What's he going to deliver to us at the line is the big question. If he wants to be in the top 5, he needs to come in after 1 minute and 17. He's going to easily be within that. It's good enough for 4th place for Timo Ahrensman, just out of the medals as it stands, but a solid performance by the Dutch rider.
Yeah, really solid there. And we've talked about the level that we've got here contending today, and that is no shabby effort at all. Also not too shabby, Jay Vine. And yeah, I was saying before, the fact that he's had to come back from so much difficulty, and again is a rider that can transform himself on one day for working for the team, the next day finishing it off himself, then coming in evidently in this kind of form and this focus today, but also talk a brilliant rider.
He is. Well, let's see how he delivers, shall we? Because for the time being, Jay Vine has been the daddy. Well, he was at the 2nd checkpoint. Meanwhile, Tadej Pogačar, let's see, there's Jay Vine. He's red against Vine, which tells you how good Vine has been through here. Van Wilder was at 26 seconds. Tadej Pogačar is going to be down in around about that margin, I'm afraid. And it doesn't look like this is Tadej Pogačar's day at all. 25.76, second quickest. But second quickest to Jay Vine, and who else is out there on the road? That's the question. Here's Del Toro. It's not going to be the lead, I'm afraid, for him, but I think this is going to be a provisional podium spot potentially for him. Although I'm saying that, he's still got a little bit to deliver. Let's have a look. Second place so far. 4.79 seconds down. This is huge. This is a very, very, very big moment, and I believe that this is one hand upon a rainbow jersey and a hand on a hat trick. Phenomenal. Twice, of course, our world champion time trialist, and Remco Evenepoel over Jay Vine. Tadej Pogačar's already been through. Vine was faster than him. Remco Evenepoel is faster than everybody. Let it ring out. Evenepoel is absolutely on a march here. This is wonderful.
Remco Evenepoel, as expected, he's not only on fire, but he's exceeding every expectation. We had a certain level of confidence that he was our out-and-out favourite today, but Tadej Pogačar wanted to vocally upset that. We knew that, but look at the ride that Evenepoel is putting in today. As you say, he's done this twice. This would be the third time. He's well aware of what's at stake, but he's got that nous, that ability to just keep that pressure just teetering on his shoulders, and look at the way he's going.
Unbelievable. First time check, he was against Tadej Pogačar 45 seconds up. He has magnified that. What he is fashioning out of iron here is unbelievable. He is now 1 minute and 42 up on Tadej Pogačar. Jay Vine might be heading for the hot seat momentarily, and indeed the let's wait and see. Certainly a medal. Jay Vine's looking like a silver medalist at the moment. No disrespect intended at all, because Remco Evenepoel is in a zone of his own as it stands, and Remco has pressed go, and he is in nobody's shadow. He is setting the benchmark.
He's not just setting the benchmark, is he? And let's just have a look at this split screen here with Evenepoel versus Pogačar. And oh my gosh, that's not just in a green situation, is it? Look at the time difference there. And I think that Evenepoel's just got everything on his side today, hasn't he?
The course is absolutely for him. Slightly rolling, doesn't mind a bit of a test. And I think more than anything else, what spurs Evenepoel on sometimes is anger. I don't know who's been poking the bear at the moment, but, you know, he is in tear-down mode as it stands. And it's the timing sheets that are in the bin as far as Evenepoel is concerned. He is just exponentially quicker than anybody. Do you know what his average pace was? Jay Vine going through the third checkpoint was 49.5, which is way ahead of anyone. The next checkpoint comes up very, very quickly between 2 and 3. Target time for Evenepoel is a 38.2 at the third checkpoint. I think he's going to be over 50 kilometers per hour through the third checkpoint, which is otherworldly.
I think that sums it up, doesn't it? And we were talking about riders being superheroes, superhuman, and appearing to be that way. But Evenepoel is confirming that he is on a superhuman ride today. He's absolutely incredible to watch. And I think the way you saw both Remco and Tadej throw the bike out of the start gate today was like, I mean business. But Remco, as I say, just every element not only suits him today, but mentally, he's just putting in the ride of his life. He is just so ready to deliver today, and delivering he is.
Jay Vine owns the third checkpoint. He's now going to head home and bring in the big test. Well, I don't know who is indeed the gorilla here today. Well, it's not a silverback, it's a goldback, isn't it? Because Remco Evenepoel is carrying his lucky Olympic helmet round this course like a golden flash.
That's got to bring a little bit, not only luck, but confidence to your side. I mean, yeah, if you ever needed any extra. And just look at the pure display of dominance here from Remco Evenepoel. It's just a joy to watch him just absolutely smash every target of this race to utter perfection. It was interesting to see again the face of Jay Vine. It's just been completely unwavering. So we can't not mention the ride that he's putting in today, but no one so far is able to measure up to this man.
Absolutely. He's got so much time at the moment. He could probably nip into a fuel station, buy himself an ice cream, enjoy it, and still win. He is phenomenal. Jay Vine, well, all he can do is his absolute best to finish the job. For Tadej Pogačar, I don't know whether there'll be any regret washes over him a little bit later on. Let's see what he's kept for the latter part of this course. But a deficit, I'm afraid, to Remco Evenepoel. Evenepoel from Tadej Pogačar of 1:42 at the second checkpoint, which is essentially halfway through this this run, a little bit over, is, I don't think, retrievable. But let's just wait and see until the line. The line will give us the time.
It will give us the answer. But yes, it's certainly looking that way.
So, Ivan Romeo coming in on what would have been on any other day a fabulous, fabulous time. And he gets over the last rise here with the crowd welcoming him in. Now, there's going to be a big party tonight. We have the elite races, of course, next weekend. But honestly, what a way to open up these World Championships. It's been absolutely outstanding.
It's been spectacular. It's delivered in so many ways. And I think for a lot of people looking at the opening time trials, some people were a bit disappointed to see some absent names from the list. The likes of Filippo Ganna, for example. You've got some big TT contenders that we said, right, they're not lining up. They don't think this course suits them. But what we have witnessed, not only today, but in the run up to this event, is the impact it's having, the crowds, the inspiration factor, the nations and riders that are getting opportunities here to test their level against evidently these world's best that we're seeing in front of our eyes now. But it's been a spectacular occasion. Talking of spectacular occasion, Remco Evenepoel is just pure style and class. Look at this.
He's found another 7 seconds on Jay Vine. He was 1:17 ahead of Jay Vine at the second checkpoint, and he has just powered through here as well. He just can't help but extend himself. This is absolutely remarkable. Tadej Pogačar has gone through the third checkpoint, by the way, and I've got to tell you, he is not in a happy place. There it is. Remco Evenepoel is 1:24 ahead of Jay Vine, and he is now nearly 2 minutes over Tadej Pogačar at checkpoint 3. It's fading for Pogačar in this resolve, but it is shining so brightly on Remco Evenepoel. Here's Jay Vine. Now, Jay Vine, second, he was fourth on the first checkpoint, second on the second checkpoint, still second on the third, and now he has to bring it home. He will be targeting a silver medal. There is no shame in that at all. He is a fabulous rider. He is a great personality, and he seems to find depths that belie his personality. He is such a gentle character, but an absolute predator on the bike. And it's been a joy watching him all season, actually.
Yeah, it totally has. Yeah, especially this season. Yeah. The storytelling that has come. Oh, my goodness.
Who? That's the question. Bike change, waiting to see. My goodness, that did not look good. Let's wait and see. It was ahead of Jay Vine, so I'm imagining it's Catania. No, it's Vargas. This is Catania who's finishing. We will wait and see. What a thing. So we talked about technicals. It's happened on the cobbles. We thought that would possibly be the place. Just one sharp edge to a cobble can actually cause all kinds of problems, and that will make us worry about those still to come. Here's Catania. Again, on any other day, we'd have been talking about him royally. Top 10 in the World Championships, potentially for him. 9th for now. Bike change. I always think that is so cruel late on. Let's see.
So cruel.
Well, this man, even if he had a bike change, it hasn't happened to Remco Evenepoel. He's got such a cushion, I think he could still bring it in. The car will, of course, be in attendance just in case. But as it stands, Remco Evenepoel is absolutely delivering something extraordinarily special. This is historic. It's going to be 3 times consecutively. That is amazing. Well, let's see. Tadej Pogačar is here. He's going to honour the day. He potentially could still get himself a medal, but I don't think it's going to be the colour he was looking for, if he medals at all.
Yeah, and this is the thing with Pogačar, which we've already highlighted all season, really, is that he is a man that wants to win and can win and targets winning. And so, of course, he doesn't ever come into a race for anything other than the victory. But he's also philosophical. And I think that about him too.
There's Van Wilder's time, and Jay Vine is going to smash that to pieces. I've got to tell you that Alan Van Wilder might be on for a bronze medal because he is faster his time at the third checkpoint than Tadej Pogačar. So think about that for a few moments. Tadej Pogačar, one of the joint favourites for today, has been beaten by Ilan van Wilder. It could be two Belgians on the podium. Let's see what Jay Vine does here. There is Van Wilder's time. He's going to take the lead momentarily, I believe, Jay Vine. What an amazing run by this man. Such a history to him, such a gutsy rider, a real gentleman as well on the bike and off it. Fabulous performance by Jay Vine. Brings it in by a handsome trim.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Jay Vine has brought this home to absolute perfection. That was something very, very special indeed. We'll get the average pace for you in a few moments' time. By the way, Remco Evenepoel at the fastest point of the course, at the third time check, is averaging at that point through to get to that point 51.3 kilometers per hour, and he's going to catch Tadej Pogačar. He is powering through. That is huge, and this would be a massive statement. That's Tadej Pogačar, his 2.5 minute man. These are the two favourites, for goodness sake. And all of a sudden, Remco Evenepoel is seeing his nemesis ahead of him. And this would be crushing if he comes through and overtakes Tadej Pogačar. And he could do it. It's 5.8 kilometres from home. This is absolutely remarkable. What a statement and what a moment. Not only in this day, but in cycling history for two riders of such exponential importance. To be this imbalanced on the day is absolutely unfathomable.
We knew that Remco Evenepoel was arguably coming in as the out-and-out favourite, but we knew also that we had expectations for Tadej Pogačar to answer that. But now Evenepoel has the sight of Pogačar just up the road. This is absolutely insane action unfurling before our eyes.
Do you know what? He's taking a break. He's having a drink. He possibly doesn't even need this. He's thinking, do I want to come in and share the limelight at the line, or shall I just have that moment where he can probably even get off the bike, lift his bike up above his head, walk over the line, which we've seen him do before? I don't know. He's a showman. It may well be that something like that, maybe he's letting Pogačar go so he can have his individual moment on the line. He doesn't want to share it with anybody. 4.3 kilometers from home. We'll see what Pogačar knows about the man who's chasing him down as it stands. Jay Vine's time, by the way, a 51 flat, 86 kilometers an hour. We are not messing about. This is brilliant. By the way, Jay Vine almost bust the 51 minutes marker. Nearest man to him, Ilan van Wilder, 1 minute and 21. I believe Van Wilder is going to medal. We are waiting, of course, for this to draw to a conclusion. There are other riders on the course. And as you can see, this is Bruno Amirail, and all credit to him as he enters underneath the Flamme Rouge. Do you think that Remco Evenepoel wants to finish on his own without anybody else in the photo frame?
Well, this is just unbelievable, Carlton. I don't think, of all of us saying coming into today it was unpredictable, I don't think that we anticipated this unfolding in this race. Oh my gosh. This is just exploding at this point in the action. And I really do want to just take a moment to say, though, how spectacular the ride of Jay Vine was, because we quickly cut away from Vine in his moments of crossing that line. But he was staggering as well today. Brilliant. But it's just the fact that Remco Evenepoel is on absolute fire. And the dominance he's putting in here. And then we just saw him sit back and take a drink.
Absolutely remarkable. Now watch Bruno Amirail here, because I think this would be enough potentially. Maybe he's just going to be off a provisional podium here. I think that's going to be the case. So he should cross the line. Fourth quickest, I think, on the day, possibly fifth. Let's wait and see. But it's almost academic, and I feel sorry for the likes of Amirail and those who are still out on the course, because this has been just a wonderful day of racing. Luke Plapp's time is just about to be breached potentially, and in fact he's just outside of that, so it will be sixth place Luke Plapp stays in 5th, and here we go. Well, there you go. He is indeed going to be that mountain gorilla. He is the silverback. He's the gold top. He is absolutely everything you want. They say the cream rises to the top and gold top is the richest of all. He's found his 2.5 minute man, and that man is Tadej Pogačar, for goodness sake, who drifts into his slipstream to try and indeed gnarl back at him. That's actually beyond the rules. He's going to have to go off towards one side. You're not allowed to draft in the slipstream of the person who's just passed you, but Evenepoel is just powering away. 2 bike lengths now. Tadej Pogačar is trying to stay with it. He wants to repass him, but you can't do this. You have to do it. If you are going to do it, you cannot do it in his slipstream. You cannot use the man who's overtaken you to take advantage, and Pogačar knows that, which is why the whistles are blowing from the commissaires to tell him to get out of the slipstream. But at the moment, slipping away and off to the horizon is Remco Evenepoel. This is absolutely remarkable. There's just under 2 kilometres to go, for goodness sake. We're on the toughest part of the climb, and Evenepoel has now, I think, just broken the heart, at least only today, of Tadej Pogačar, because it's suddenly 4 bike lengths. What will be the difference at the end here today? And where will Tadej Pogačar finish? He might even be out of the medals, for goodness sake. We shall wait and see. Evenepoel is absolutely on rails at the moment. It's a funicular which gets up climbs. Look at him. This is brilliant.
Remco Evenepoel is putting in the ride of his life. He's taken the rainbow bands 2 consecutive years. And now he didn't only want to come in today and make it a 3rd, to make history, to dominate, but he's done it with such style. And we could not have written this, could we, Carlton? We did not expect him to suddenly have Pogačar in his sights. Not only that, to power past in this final cobble section. This is just utterly incredible what is unfurling ahead of us here.
What a performance by Remco Evenepoel. Took his time, didn't panic, had a toot on the old beard-on, and then took time actually to fold the cage to make it even more aero, and thought, right, this is my time. There's a climb coming up here. I am going to dominate. Tadej Pogačar is fighting back. He does not like the fact that he has been passed by his 2.5 minute man. It could be a sprint for the line, and Tadej Pogačar has every right to try and make the best time home he possibly can. Remco Evenepoel, maybe he's aware that Tadej Pogačar is reclosing the gap here. It's marginal, but I believe that Tadej Pogačar here is not going to get back at his man, but it shows the fight in his belly, and that you've got to appreciate as well. Suddenly Remco Evenepoel, though, gets the drive. He's on the flat stuff with another rise to come. Stefan Kung with 2.5 minutes deficit at this point. He's going to find himself potentially outside of the top 10, if only just inside of it potentially. Let's have a look. That's 8th for now, but I'm afraid it's going to be 10th by the look of him, because there's 2 riders still to come. And there is Remco Evenepoel, champion and waiting, trident of opportunities and delivery. Last 500 meters for him. 2 minutes he has up on Jay Vine at the moment, but significantly he's got 2.5 minutes and more on Tadej Pogačar. This is amazing. Pogačar's going to be struggling to finish in the top 10 if he fades here. Evenepoel with the last delivery, a few hammer blows still to be issued. Do you want to be the hammer or do you want to be the anvil? And today, Evenepoel is forging something absolutely magnificent. A fabulous trident of victories. 3 times consecutively a world time trial champion. He is historic in everything he's delivering today. He's coming up to this rise. Look at the fans here beating the hoardings. And he has beaten Evenepoel. Everybody, includes Remco Evenepoel. 1, 2, 3, kapow! We salute you, sir. That was majestic. And this is Tadej Pogačar coming home, and look at the deficit here. He is good enough for 4th. No medal for Pogačar, and the whole world to Remco Evenepoel.
Remco Evenepoel made sure that was his ultimate playground today. An acknowledgement, a shake of the hand there for Tadej Pogačar. But Remco What he has just done is such a historical moment. You saw him come across the line there. 1, 2, 3, salute. He pushed everything in that final segment to the line. I just can't quite believe what we've seen today.
The man has a military-style haircut, and today it was a forensic delivery by somebody who was absolutely determined to put the world in the crosshairs and make sure that he owned it. This was something so very special. Remember it. Remember what he has done. Remember who he has beaten. And more than that, the manner to which he delivered it. It was absolutely supreme. Well, it's going to take him a while to recover, and probably us as well.
I was just thinking that. Oh, I mean, we wanted an exciting race, but we could not have written that, could we? We did not expect that level of action right to the line there. But what I also love, though, about Tadej Pogačar, oh, I need to calm down. Pogačar is the fact that straight away an acknowledgement to Remco on just what a ride that was today. Ever the gentleman.
Remco Evenepoel is a world time trial champion by a margin of 1 minute and 14 over the amazing Jay Vine. And Ilan Van Milde makes it 2 Belgians on the medals podium here in Kigali. Tadej Pogačar does not medal. Indeed, on a course that he said suited him absolutely down to the ground. Top 5 includes Ivan Del Toro. We also have, of course, Leknesund, Plapp, Amirai, Arensman and Kung, who all played their part in what was an amazing day. My goodness, every single one of them deserves our praise and thanks. And let the party begin.
What a moment for Remco Evenepoel. And it was fascinating, wasn't it? These last few kilometers, and even just seeing, knowing that he'd come past Pogačar, job done, but the focus that he had right until he crossed that line was just something to behold.
Whoa. What a day. It's going to take a while to actually quantify what indeed this means.
What just happened there?
Mm.
We knew he was confident. You put it out there. But that's another interesting thing, is a lot of riders are cagey and they don't want to state their intent too much ahead of a race. And we know that interviews can be very evasive. Remco said, "Now this race is mine."
He did.
And now we can see why.
Mm-hmm. Let us see. Well, let there be light. And it shone, didn't it? A golden light bathing Remco Evenepoel. And look at this. What an atmosphere we have had here in Kigali, and what a winner we have in Remco Evenepoel. It's been an absolute joy. Both the men's and women's time trials have proved to be spectacular. Here he is.
Today you didn't just win the world title, you destroyed all the opposition. A masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, felt pretty good straight away on the first flat part. I felt that the legs were turning. I was holding my pace without going over the limit, and then the first climb of the day was actually quite hard together with the last 2 ones, so I really pushed it there. And then after I just I saw I had quite a big gap, so I just wanted to keep a pace that I could hold until the bottom of Péage, and then I just went flat out on every climb. But I must say the cobbles were really, I hated them at some point. It was so hard to really push through them on the end, but in the end, I won. Is the most important. And Ilan, my teammate and same age generation guy, he became third. So a phenomenal day for us, I guess.
And you catch today. What goes on in your mind when you see that green jersey in front of you today, Pogacar. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a day like today, it doesn't matter who it is, but I just wanted to push as hard as possible from the first climb on, and yeah, then I just tried to recover as much as possible in the descents, and of course on the cobbles, when I saw that I was coming closer quite quickly, I knew I had to push through, but I have to say that it was really tough on the false flat part in the end, so I didn't want to go over the limit. Excuse me, because I knew that the last 400 was also still quite hard, but yeah, like I said, it doesn't matter who it is. I just wanted to go as fast as possible, and I mean, yeah, it's I had a really good day, and I hope I can keep this till next week.
3 world titles consecutively. You make history even more.
Yeah, I mean, the row I get in is pretty. I mean, are 2 impressive guys with Tony and Michael, so it's a big honor for me to step up there, and yeah, I guess next year I have to go for another one because I want to be the first to get 4 in a row. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna enjoy this one first for sure. Still next week and then the week after, so still a few difficult weeks coming up, but of course I feel very happy, and this is a big motivation boost.
Congratulations.
A big motivation boost. Well, he's given the whole world of cycling a boost, I think it's fair to say. A lot of you watching in Africa, thank you so much for your kind thoughts as well about what has been an amazing day of racing. Not only, of course, the women's time trial that we had this morning, spectacular. Won't give you the result over this broadcast because I don't want you to miss the opportunity of going and catching up with that great race. But right here, right now, we've had another spectacular day of racing. These World Championships, you know, they could prove to be one of the greatest ever.
Well, we had high hopes coming into this week and this day of 2 spectacular opening time trials. But wow, it's just delivered and then some, hasn't it? And we're just getting sight now on the incredible crowds, and I just think that when we saw the arena for the first time for the start ramps of the TT, we knew we were on something special. But gosh, what history and what more are we going to see unfold throughout the rest of these championships, because of course this is just the start.
It is just the start, and I cannot wait for the rest of it, quite frankly. Well, I've got to say, it has been an absolute pleasure in so many ways. And if we don't get an opportunity a little bit later on, I'd just like to thank Rebecca Charlton for exceptional commentary. Thank you at home as well for your very, very kind thoughts on what has been a fabulous day of racing. And personally speaking, well, it has been an absolute joy in so many ways. We've had the drama, we've had the beauty, and of course, we've had the welcome of Africa and in particular, the good people of Kigali and Rwanda. We thank you warmly. We're nearly there. It is indeed awards time, and that coveted rainbow jersey, which Remco Evenepoel practically owns, for goodness sake, when it comes to time trialing. Let's indeed see what the elite men's road race brings us, of course, next weekend as well. We also have the women's on Saturday, which is going to be equally hard fought for in spectacular terrain. In fact, some of the climbs that we've been dealing with form part of the course.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And it was interesting that Remco Evenepoel straight away talking about more targets, wasn't he? And that's what we've come to expect from him as a rider. We know that's why he is so good at what he does, because he's able to absorb and appreciate what he's achieved. But then it's like, right, I want even more. I want more history in the making. Thank you very much. But yeah, we've got the road races coming up, and just taking a look back now at that ride that we've just had the absolute joy of watching.
Well, he has a gold leaf covered helmet, and the extra weight didn't seem to be a burden to him at all. This was a 24-carat performance by one of the true greats of cycling, and certainly one of the greatest ever time trialists. That in the green is Teddy Pogačar that Remco Evenepoel has found after they started 2.5 minutes apart. That is something that many people will remember for the rest of their lives, and this man will certainly record as one of the greatest moments in his cycling career, no matter what he goes on to achieve. This has been special.
Look at that. Talking of special, it's not just job done, is it, in a scenario like that? There's so much at play there in the conviction in which he won that, and the fact that it was the third consecutive, and now he's already talking about the fourth.
And Villa's going to share the podium with him, an old mate from their junior days as well. How lovely is that? They'll be looking at each other across at the podium and just thinking, days like this, they don't come around very often.
And again, I know every rider's different, but you've got to hope that they can really absorb and appreciate that moment, because it's so special. But I think so many riders go from target to target, constantly move that goalpost. You want to see riders just absolutely soaking in this for everything that it is right here and right now. And I think Remco will do that.
I'm a hero stadium, almost. I'm a horo. But it's our backdrop for the jersey presentation. And just look at the fans who've made the trip here. I think most of Belgium are over.
We saw some good fan clubs out on the road, didn't we? But it's been a pleasure to see that all day. And as I say, this is only the start. It's set to continue, and we knew there'd be a lot of interest here for these World Championships. But yeah, it's certainly delivered on that front.
Cue the trumpets.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the award ceremony of the 2025 UCI Road World Championships in Kigali. Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue à la cérémonie protocolaire du championnat du monde route UCI 2025 à Kigali.
Ikaze kuri mwese muteraniye hano, tubaye ikaze mu birori byo gutanga ibihembo ku bakinnyi bitwaye neza muri shampiyona y'isi y'amagare y'ibihumbi 2025 UCI Road World Championships iri gukinirwa ahangaha i Kigali.
Award ceremony of the 2025 UCI Road World Championships Men Elite Individual Time Trial. Cérémonie protocolaire du championnat du monde route UCI 2025 contre la montre individuelle homme élite.
Muri uyu mwanya tugiye guhemba abatsinze muri shampiyona y'isi y'amagare mu 2025 mu bagabo bakina individual time trial ITT.
The medals and jersey will be presented by Mr. Tony Mitchell, UCI Management Committee member. Les médailles et le maillot seront remis par Monsieur Tony Mitchell, membre du comité directeur de l'UCI.
Imidari n'imyambaro igenerwa abatsinze igiye gutangwa na bwana Tony Mitchell, umwe mu bagize komite nyobozi ya UCI.
In third place and winner of the bronze medal representing Belgium. À la troisième place, et vainqueur de la médaille de bronze représentant la Belgique.
Ku mwanya wa gatatu n'umudari w'umuringa yegukanywe n'umukinnyi ukinira ikipe ya Belgique.
Ilan van Wilder!
What a spectacular performance. Getting himself a bronze, or I like to call it, a rose gold medal. This is wonderful. He's even had time to do his hair. How fabulous for Belgium to have two on the podium.
Really important, isn't it? What a moment for them. And we did not know how this top three was going to look. What a race.
Ku mwanya wa kabiri n'umudari wa feza yegukanywe n'umukinnyi ukinira Australia.
Jay Wine, I think he's actually going to have a tipple tonight. He's allowed. What a performance. There it is. Should we call it platinum? That was great, wasn't it?
He was just brilliant today. And I think you could just see that from his demeanour. Every time the camera cut in to a close-up shot of his face, you could see just how much he had in the tank, how calm he was.
Representing Belgium. À la première place, champion du monde UCI et gagnant de la médaille d'or représentant la Belgique.
Shampiyona y'isi y'amagare n'umudari wa zahabu yegukanywe n'umukinnyi ukinira Ububiligi ariwe
Mr. Hattrick Remco
Mr. Hattrick, indeed. I think it's a T-shirt to be had. Before that, the most important jersey, to my mind, in the world of sport, and certainly to this man's mind as well. He gets a gold medal, but he also gets the rainbow bands for the third time in a row. That is absolutely exceptional.
It truly is. And I was so intrigued to hear what he was going to say in that interview straight after his third victory in this race, because you can only imagine what goes through the mind of someone with this level of talent, this ability to deliver. I can't comprehend it. The moment you know you've done it again, and you've not just done it, you've overtaken Pogacar, and you've got such a clear margin to play with.
Well, there's a few other goodies to be handed out as well. The Minister of Sport is here with the goodie bags. I'd love to know what's in them. Something very, very special, I imagine, for what has been an amazing opening day of this, the UCI Road World Championships 2025, for the first time in Africa.
And now the Tissot watch will be presented by Mr. Tony Mitchell, UCI Management Committee member. La montre Tissot sera présentée par Monsieur Tony Mitchell, membre du comité directeur de l'UCI.
impano y'isaha ikorwa n'uruganda Tissot igiye gutangwa na bwana Tony Mitchell, umwe mu bagize komite nyobozi ya UCI.
Well, you get a watch as well. Great timekeepers for us in our sport. We thank Tissot, and indeed we thank Remco Evenepoel for a spectacular performance and a great deal of entertainment. And the smile says it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of our new UCI World Champion, we present the national anthem of Belgium. Mesdames et messieurs, au l'honneur de notre nouveau champion du monde UCI, nous vous présentons l'hymne national de la Belgique.
Mudufasha nanone gushimira uwegukanye shampiyona y'isi y'amagare mu gukomeza kumuha icyubahiro, twese duhaguruke mu gihe haririmbwa indirimbo yubahiriza igihugu cye cy'Ububiligi.
Yes, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
Belgium is a country that many regard as the crucible of the world of cycling. And burning white hot is indeed the performances, constantly it seems, of the great entertainer, Remco Evenepoel. What a podium, and what a day of racing we have had. Thank you, Kigali. Thank you, Rwanda. Thank you, Africa. And thank you, of course, to the UCI for these amazing championships. And I guess, most of all, you have to thank our winners, our world champions. Absolutely magnificent. What it takes to achieve this greatness is not just about the individual rider. It's about everyone associated with them. And of course, the world of cycling itself.
What a phenomenal first day here in Kigali. And the competition will continue tomorrow morning already, 10:30, with under 23 in the real time trial, women, and will continue in the afternoon, 1:30, under 23 in the real time trial, men.
Ku munsi w'ejo rero irushanwa rizakomeza mu gitondo mu batarengeje imyaka 23 mu bagore nibo bazakina mu gihe mu bagabo bazakina nimugoroba aribo nabo batarengeje imyaka 23 mu bagabo, ariko ntihagire ugenda. Dufite DJ Brian mu kanya gato araza gusesekara ahangaha. Mwakoze cyane, thank you so much, merci beaucoup.
Well, he's now got the near burden, of course, of doing all the media engagements that are going to be expected of him. He'll be straight off to the press corps after he's signed the jerseys. But let's reflect on what's been a fabulous day, Rebecca. We had a wonderful winner of the women's race, which I think we can now give you. Spoiler alert, if you are still to watch that race, it's time to indeed mute the sound right now. But two great world champions we have we not?
Oh, it's just been everything we hoped for and more, hasn't it? Harlan Royce, just again, I think we've just had such two dominant wins. I think that's really been the story of the day, is we expected unpredictability. We thought we knew who the favourites were. That switched around a little bit throughout the day. But yeah, I think ultimately RY'ISI and Evenepoel just delivered what we knew they had the potential to do, and they did it with a margin and with conviction. And I think also what we have to take away from today is the amount of riders that got the biggest opportunities of their lives today, and also every single person lining the road celebrating this sport, and not just this sport, but what this means for Africa to have these championships.
Congratulations to Remco Evenepoel, and a first sign of fallibility in Tadej Pogačar. He has been such a dominant force for such a long time, and for him to come here and be beaten out of the medals is something unexpected, I think it's fair to say. What we can expect from Remco Evenepoel is potentially a rejuvenation of his vim and vigor. He signed for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, of course, for next year, having left Soudal Quickstep. Maybe he will find it within himself to indeed deliver when it comes to another Grand Tour. Champion of La Vuelta, of course, a couple of years ago. Multiple world champion, as you well know. World Road Race champion in 2022. And now 3 times consecutively time trial champion. He's done a lot, Remco Evenepoel. In any other era, he would be the man. Well, today he certainly is, in so many ways. It's a joy to see him winning in such a flamboyant fashion.
Flamboyant is a really good word for it as well, because I felt like he went out there and he owned it, didn't he? And he delights and entertains with every pedal stroke. He just maneuvers the bike in a way that is, yeah, it's pretty unique to watch, isn't it? But to your point on switching teams, it's something I talk about a lot with riders, because it can make such a difference. And as you say, we're talking about a rider that's winning this big in consecutive years and doing everything that he's delivered in the sport. But he knows he wants more. There is more. And I think for Marlen Reusser is a textbook example of what can happen when you switch teams. And she's had such belief around her, and interesting times for both of these riders.
The third one. But would you say that today was one of your best performances on a TT bike?
Honestly, yeah, I think so. Like I said before, it's the kind of TT I actually like, because it's short parts of really high power and then some parts recovery. So it's completely different than my 2 previous titles. So yeah, I think in the one-day TT must have been one of the best. So I mean, if you win, it's always a good performance. So I cannot complain today.
You went flat out from start to finish. At the first time check, you had a 44-second advantage already. I mean, it was flat out all the time.
Yeah, let's say until after 7K, I started to push really hard. We had our own time checks as well after 6.5, and then on the top of Péage. So I knew already that on the first roundabout I had like 15 seconds advantage on the second one. So yeah, it has been a good TT, a very good pacing plan, and yeah, in the end I was quite on the limit after the cobbles, but in the end I made a gap already before, so it doesn't matter that I lost a bit of time in the end, but just very happy with the overall result.
You make history. You make also history because you are the first to win on African soil. What was the atmosphere like on the course?
Yeah, pretty special. I think, especially coming close to the finish line, the atmosphere was rising. So and then yeah, on the finish line it was like madness. So yeah, I can only be happy and proud to be the first one to win here. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it with the team tonight, and of course we need to refocus quickly for next week as well. But of course today we will enjoy and celebrate it a bit.
Well, he takes it in his stride, doesn't he? Don't forget, the program goes on. The women's under-23 individual time trial is, of course, tomorrow, Monday. There will be the men's under-23 as well. So it's your chance to actually enjoy, I guess, the thrill of seeing the youngsters, the future, having a go. Zoe Baxter is involved, incidentally. I think she's a shoo-in for the women's title, but we can't take anything for granted, as we found out today.
We absolutely cannot, but it has been interesting to see who's fielding squads here and for what races. And we do have a very handy under-23 squad for Great Britain. Zoe Backstead is remarkable, though, another rider that works tirelessly day in, day out for others and does so much work as a teammate. But we know her palmarès has been so impressive at such a young age, and she's also just an absolute joy off the bike.
There you go. So yet more to come. Sadly, it won't be us that are indeed calling your race tomorrow. We would have loved it because we loved today, didn't we? Long day, but a really enthralling.
Really, really good day. It just didn't look like Jay Vine ever really troubled himself with the effort there. He just looked so so calm in his face throughout. A bit of contrast.
Yeah, he is a model of serenity.
That's the right word, serenity.